super excited to be here. I haven't been at Winter Retreat since I was a high schooler, so that's obviously a super long time ago. And it's fun to be here, but I'm super excited, especially to get to talk about joy. When I heard that was the topic, I was pumped. Joy is one of my very, very favorite things. I kind of consider myself a little bit of a joy junkie, and so we're going to get to joy in just a second, but I want to warm up a little bit this morning talking about happiness. Now, there are a lot of things that make me happy. I think y'all are going to relate to me on some of them. That early morning phone call that I sometimes get from Haywood County Schools, oh, that makes me happy. I don't know how you all get the notification, but for me, it comes from on a phone call to my cell phone. The night before, sometimes there's that prediction, there might be snow, and you go to bed kind of fingers crossed, thinking that just maybe. And then my phone rings at a ridiculously early hour. When I pick it up, there's a pause, and the recording begins. This is Haywood County Schools. Today, January, blah, blah, blah. Haywood County Schools will be closed. Oh, that makes me so happy. And then if I get up on my bed and I peek out the windows, and the world is covered in white, that takes my happiness to a whole new level. And if I'm super lucky and none of my kids are awake in the house yet, and I can curl back under my very warm, comfy, cozy, slightly tacky penguin snowflake patterned flannel sheets. Oh, those flannel sheets make me happy. Really hot French fries from McDonald's, a coffee from Smoky Mountain Roasters, a pair of jeans that fit just right, the perfect day and place for a picnic, that song on the radio that you cannot help but sing to. Happy, happy, happy. Happiness is fun, but happiness is fleeting. Happiness comes more or less from where you'd expect it. It comes from external triggers like people, places, things, events. Happy is not synonymous with joyful. This morning, some of you all I think you drew pictures, right? Of joy? That's what you're supposed to do this morning, so I'm glad. I didn't get a chance to see them, but I'm excited to see them, because when I was thinking about you all drawing pictures of joy, it made me think in my mind, what does joy look like to me? And as I thought about that, this picture came to my mind that they're going to project on the TV if everything works as planned. Okay, so they're holding a sign. It says joy, okay? They're holding up joy. You can't really see it in that picture. But aren't they adorable? Not my kids. Mine are cuter than that. Joy is often unpredictable. It comes not when you're necessarily happy, but when you're able to make peace with who you are, why you are, and how you are. The great thing about joy is it's all yours. No one can take it away from you. And joy often comes in some very kind of seemingly small and simple ways sometimes. One time, I found joy in a spoonful of peanut butter. Sounds kind of absurd, right? But let me take you there. Let me paint the picture for you, set the stage. I was a senior in college, and I had this fabulous idea that I should study abroad. I mean, it did make sense. I was a Spanish major who barely spoke Spanish, so I got my paperwork done, and I got my plane ticket, my passport, my bags packed, and I got on the plane ready to go to Chetumal, Mexico. It was challenging from the very beginning. I arrived in Cancun, I got off the plane, and a small-town girl who had never taken public transportation in her life is expected to find a taxi, in my limited Spanish, mind you, get from the airport to the bus station, at the bus station figure out how to get money, use money, exchange money to buy a bus ticket. Then I've got to find a public telephone, call this house family who I don't know, I've never met, say to them again in my limited Spanish when I was going to be getting to Chetumal and how I was going to be there and where I'd be, and pray that they understood a word I was saying. Thankfully, this really nice guy helped me with my bags, and I sat down and I was listening for my bus to be called. But all I heard was wah, 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 wah coming over the intercom, and even if it was in English, I seriously doubt I would have understood it, and I certainly didn't, because nice guy who had helped me with my luggage comes running across, and he comes over to me and in Spanish, but I'm translating what I interpreted. Girl, you best get up. Your bus is about to leave. It is pulling out of the parking lot. And he is so nice. He goes and he runs and he stops my bus, and I'm collecting my last things, and I'm frenzied and I'm frazzled, and I get on the bus and I climb on, and I'm kind of a wreck, and the first thing I see is this guy's face. He was an older man, and he looked mad. And he had a look in his eyes as I passed by that said, "You idiot. We had to stop this bus and wait for you?" That's all it took. I barely made it to my seat before the tears started streaming down my face. And it was a 6-hour bus ride to Cheddar Mall, and I think I cried the majority of it. And to be quite honest, those were the first of many tears that I shed in Mexico. Mexico is a really lovely country, and I met some extremely nice people there. But I was also really, very, super homesick. Everything was new to me. The language, obviously, the food, the culture, the classes, the transportation. I was miserable. Okay. But to truly paint a picture of my misery for you this morning, I am about to live out a lifelong dream. So I'm a preacher's daughter, okay? And my dad and I, we've often talked and even practiced around the house of our great duet that we were going to do in front of the congregation. Why have I never done said duet? Well, it's because there's no talent there. It's just a desire to do a duet. Now, so we're going to sing for you this morning, but let me explain what we're going to sing. We also have this long tradition of basically making fun of ourselves and each other through song. So we take old hymns, and we using the tunes in an old hymn, we'll point out each other's inadequacies. It's actually very therapeutic. Now one of the best songs we've ever written rose from the ashes of my misery in Mexico. The title of the song is Jesus, I Love You. You're my only friend. Now,
could I say a word of disclaimer? Being up here doing this is not my idea of joy. I'm doing this for my joy junkie. And by the way, she always wanted her brother to invite her to get up here and sing on the retreat. And he never did. He did invite her to preach, and so then she figured out how we get to sing. Right? By the way, this is going to be the most soulful song of self-pity you've ever heard. So if any of you have that world's smallest violin, it would be appropriate to play with us and for us. Okay?
Are y'all ready for this? Jesus, I love you, you're my only friend. I thought my parents loved me, but that was just pretend.
My mama won't send me the things that I need. She blames it on the mail, but I think it is greed.
Oh, Jesus, you love me, but I'm not doing well. I'm stuck down in this place where it's hot as flames. I eat tamales, rice, and beans, morning, noon, and night, while you always steak and shrimp and enjoy every bite. Alright, if you got nothing else from that song, I hope I've truly painted paint you a picture now, that I was absolutely at the end of my rope there in Mexico. And then, that's when it happened. In a little store down the road from the house where I was staying, dark corner, was a dusty jar of peanut butter. I felt like God had put that jar of peanut butter there just for me. It was something familiar, something comforting, something that I knew for at least a moment of time could take me home. So I took that jar of peanut butter back to the house, grabbed a spoon, escaped my room, and when I took that first bite, it was pure joy. Don't get the wrong impression. I am not obsessed with peanut butter. I mean, I like peanut butter. I'm a human, but I don't love peanut butter. But in that moment, it's not what I was eating that brought me joy. It's where I was eating it. You see, sometimes when our internal well gets like really, really empty, like mine was at that moment in Mexico, it's just a little easier for us to find our place at God's table. When the distractions and the superficial comforts are all stripped away, it's just a lot easier to see the banquet that's always spread in front of us. All of you have a seat that's just waiting for you at the table of God. And any time that you make the choice to let go of the world enough to spend a little bit of time there, no matter what you're doing or eating or other emotion you may be having at that moment, I promise you will find joy. I've actually found joy at a lot of tables. Friday night pizza night at my house, a simple way sometimes I find joy. Some of you are probably going to find joy sitting around the tables here at Winter Retreat. I've certainly found joy eating a hot bowl of ramen noodle soup on a cold and wet day on Wilderness Trail. I know some of y'all are feeling me there. I found joy sitting on the dirt floor in Bolivia, South America with a handful of boiled potatoes. And I found joy eating John Valentine's biscuits and gravy at the Friendship House on Saturday mornings. That's why it's no surprise to me at all that as Jesus left his Last Supper, after he had finished eating the last meal that he would ever eat here on earth in his human form with his dear friends, he chose to talk about joy. Don't think he was happy. The next day he would be crucified. Imagine the very people that his Father had created were going to look at him with hate in their eyes, and they were going to want him dead. Now, Jesus wasn't happy, but he was filled with joy. And right there in the middle of this long, beautiful conversation he's having with his disciples, in John 15:11, he says, I say these things to you so that my joy may be in you, so that your joy may be complete. Happiness and joyful are not synonymous, but God-filled and joyful always are. Joy is always just sitting dormant within us. It's something nobody can get. It's something no one can take away from you. But without God, your joy is not complete. It's like holding a light bulb. You can stand there and hold a light bulb as long and as hard as you want to. But until you connect it to an electrical current, that light bulb is of little use to you. It certainly won't brighten the dark. There's a story, an illustration in a Philip Yancey book that I read some years ago. And he describes a woman, a friend of his. Her name was Angela. And Angela, she had just in her adult years discovered the Gospels. And ever since discovering the Gospels, she just gained this great fascination for anything and everything that had to do with Jesus. And so she finds him just soaking up anything she could find about Jesus, even to the point that any street evangelist or wild prophet that seemed to be ever present on the streets of New York where she lived, she found herself stopping and listening. And on one day when she was rushing with a friend home from work, trying to get to the subway, she passed one of these street evangelists. A sign that said, "The end is near." And kind of in a raspy voice, like under his breath a little bit, he was saying, "Jesus is coming. Start singing." And Angela reached out and she grabbed her friend's shoulder and she said, "Did you hear what he just said? He said Jesus is coming. We need to start singing." Her friend brushed her hand off of her shoulder and she hurried her steps along and she said, "Angela, you need to get your hearing checked. He didn't say start singing. He said stop sinning." Well, in all reality, that probably is what he had said. But I think there's some real truth to what Angela heard. Jesus came to this world, to our earth, and in him, our joy is made complete. We just kind of wrapped up the Christmas season, and all over the world, we sang, "Joy to the world, the Lord has come, let earth receive her King. Let every heart prepare him room, and heaven and nature sing. Heaven and nature sing." So I invite you today, and every day, to prepare him room. Step into that river of joy that Keith was talking about last night. Take your seat at God's table. See the banquet that's laid before you. Take that light bulb and connect it to an electrical current so that God's joy may be in you, and so that your joy may be complete. And then your heart, well, it's going to join the angels in heaven and the birds of the sky, and together you're going to sing. I think we need a song. I'm not singing this one.